Currently, there are more than 26,000 active students from various regions of the country. Our continuous internationalization efforts are shown with the distribution of foreign students at our university from various countries. The high-achieving climate developed at the campus supports our chosen students to compete in various competitions, both at national and international levels. We equip students with the required experience to participate in various international cooperation programs through joint degree, double degree, short course, summer camp, and competition programs at international level. As a Muhammadiyah higher education institution, we make Al-Islam and Kemuhammadiyahan as the foundation for our campus life. Fun learning with various activities are promoted to develop the potentials and interests of the students. The students' organizations and 3 Muhammadiyah autonomic organizations that we offer are the best choice for students to channel their interest and potentials both in academic and non-academic activities. With the increasingly fast technological advances, we improve the quality of our internet connection for comfortable online learning through e-learning, as well as for various payment and tuition transactions. We have a smart room that can integrate all campus management information system that is displayed on executive dashboard system, making it convenient for immediate decision making and providing fast and optimum services for lecturers, educational staff, students, and their guardians. Besides, we can also carry out social media analysis, teleconference, or online meeting. With more than 750 competent educators with the best qualification in their fields. Since 2017, we have been accredited A by the National Accreditation Board for Higher Education. Besides, we also managed to record a variety of notable achievements. We are working to provide quality education with the best learning system for our students. Now, we have 11 faculties and 52 study programs for both undergraduate and postgraduate programs. Adequate facilities, friendly services, professional educators are our focus. Comfortable classrooms, integrated laboratories, amphitheater with 3D facilities and smart presentation, observatory, as well as libraries with complete collection are utilized to support students' learning activities. Education, research, and community service are the main objective for higher education. In terms of research, we are trying to create a conducive research climate. We are also working to encourage lecturers to continue improving their research to produce a variety of innovations that are aimed to benefit the society through appropriate and efficient technology. Our target in scientific publication in the form of books, publication in accredited national journals or reputable international journals continues to experience a significant increase. With 78 journals in various fields of science, 33 Sinta accredited journals, 3 of which are Scopus Index, UAD is the first and only Muhammadiyah higher education institution with 3 reputable international Scopus Index journals. Moreover, UAD also records an achievement in the field of community service by getting recognition and transforming from very satisfactory cluster to a superior cluster. We built a strong network with various institutions, organizations, and universities, proven with various track records in national and international corporations. The corporations established promote activities in the fields of education, research and community service with seminars, workshop, publications, and various other programs. We are forging multi-year cooperation with the European Union Erasmus Plus through the capacity building for higher education program in the development of entrepreneurship and disaster management. Alumni are valuable assets for a university. For that, we are continuously improving the quality of our graduates. To know the competency of our graduates as workers, we conduct a treasure study by maximizing the participation of alumni through Kamada, Alumni Associations of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. For the development of science-based business economy, we have a number of business units: PT Adi Multi Energi, PT Adi Multi Kalibrasi, PT BPRS Karana Kiat Andalas, PT Adi Multi Husada, PT Adi Multi Teknologi, PT Adi Multi Property, PT Adi Multi Boga, and PT Adi Multimedia.
Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi pada mulanya bernama Fakultas Sastra. Sebagai fakultas yang diselenggarakan sejak tahun 1997, Fakultas Sastra mempunyai program studi yakni Sastra Inggris dan Sastra Indonesia. Kemudian berdasarkan Surat Keputusan Menteri Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan Republik Indonesia pada tahun 2012, Fakultas Sastra mulai menyelenggarakan program studi ilmu komunikasi. Dengan bertambahnya program studi ilmu komunikasi, nama Fakultas Sastra disesuaikan menjadi Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi. Dilandasi tujuan untuk mengkaji berbagai kearifan dan budaya lokal, fakultas ini diharapkan mampu menjadikan para cendekiawan yang mampu bersaing secara global dalam bidang ilmu sastra, budaya, dan komunikasi.
Selamat pagi pemirsa. Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi atau yang kita singkat dengan FSBK Universitas Ahmad Dahlan memiliki visi menjadi fakultas yang unggul dan inovatif di bidang sastra, budaya, dan komunikasi serta dijiwai nilai-nilai keberagaman budaya dan nilai-nilai Islam. Untuk mewujudkan hal itu, Fakultas Sastra dan Budaya selalu mengembangkan SDM dengan mengambil studi lanjut di dalam maupun di luar negeri.
Sementara itu, Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi senantiasa mengedepankan keutuhan dharmanya kepada masyarakat, bangsa, dan agama, baik dari sisi pendidikan, penelitian, maupun pengabdian yang dapat dilihat dari capaian hingga saat ini.
Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi mengembangkan mahasiswa bukan saja di bidang akademik tetapi juga non-akademik. Hal itu diwujudkan dengan memfasilitasi para mahasiswa untuk bergabung di beberapa organisasi kemahasiswaan yang ada di tingkat fakultas. Ada Badan Eksekutif Mahasiswa, ada Dewan Perwakilan Mahasiswa, ada Himpunan Mahasiswa Jurusan, dan juga organisasi otonom atau Ikatan Mahasiswa Muhammadiyah. Diharapkan dengan bergabungnya para mahasiswa di dalam organisasi ini, mereka dapat mengembangkan kecerdasan mereka secara maksimal, baik di bidang intelektual, emosional, dan juga spiritual. Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi dalam rangka memfasilitasi mahasiswa untuk mengetahui dinamika di dunia usaha, bekerja sama dengan berbagai perguruan tinggi dan juga perusahaan baik di dalam maupun di luar negeri. Perusahaan maupun perguruan tinggi yang bekerja sama dengan Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi selama ini sudah terwujud baik yang ada di Malaysia, Brunei Darussalam, Philipina, dan juga di Thailand. Beberapa mahasiswa juga sudah menjalankan beberapa program sebagai bagian daripada realisasi kerjasama FSPK dengan universitas di luar negeri. Di antara mereka ada yang di Eropa dan Inggris. Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi memberikan sarana ataupun fasilitas yang sangat memadai dengan kampus yang berada di kampus utama kampus 4 Universitas Ahmad Dahlan dengan ruang kuliah, ruang laboratorium, dan fasilitas pengajaran, penelitian, dan pengabdian masyarakat yang sudah sangat memadai. Harapannya para mahasiswa bisa memaksimalkan semua fasilitas itu untuk menunjang mereka menggapai harapan dan cita-cita di masa yang akan datang.
Terdapat 3 program studi yang berada di Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi, yakni Sastra Indonesia, Sastra Inggris, serta Prodi Ilmu Komunikasi.
Program Studi Sastra Indonesia merupakan salah satu program studi yang terakreditasi A di Universitas Ahmad Dahlan dan memiliki beberapa keunggulan. Yang pertama, memiliki program kerjasama internasional dengan beberapa negara, yaitu Korea, China, dan Thailand. Yang kedua, memiliki prestasi di tingkat nasional dan internasional. Yang ketiga, memiliki kurikulum yang unggul dan didukung oleh tenaga pengajar dan dosen yang profesional.
Halo semuanya, nama saya Ni Siyuan. Ini teman kelas saya namanya Huang Qingyun. Kami mahasiswa dari program 12-2 antara Guangxi Minzu Daxue dan Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. Dosen-dosen di sini sangat bertanggung jawab dan baik hati. Mereka sangat suka membantu mahasiswa asing dan memperkenalkan tentang budaya dan sejarah Indonesia.
Program Studi Sastra Inggris merupakan salah satu program studi unggulan di Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. Program studi ini mendapatkan akreditasi A sejak tahun 2018. Program studi sastra Inggris banyak menghantarkan mahasiswa untuk berprestasi baik di bidang akademik maupun non-akademik. Pada tahun 2019, program studi sastra Inggris mendapatkan hibah dari pemerintah mengirimkan 11 mahasiswa belajar di negara-negara ASEAN seperti Malaysia, Thailand, dan Brunei Darussalam. Pada tahun 2021, salah satu mahasiswa program studi sastra Inggris, Bagas Al-Fajri, lolos program Indonesian International Students Mobility Award untuk belajar di Eropa, yaitu belajar di University of Strathclyde selama 1 semester. Pada tahun 2022, lagi program studi sastra Inggris meloloskan 1 mahasiswa untuk belajar di program ISMA, belajar di University of Pécs, Hungaria selama 1 semester. Dengan semboyan Moral and Intellectual Integrity, program studi sastra Inggris adalah kawah candra di muka untuk menciptakan sumber daya manusia yang handal di bidang sastra, budaya, dan bahasa, khususnya bahasa Inggris.
Halo Swadikra, perkenalkan nama saya Anjas Asmara. Saya adalah seorang dosen bahasa Inggris di Nakhon Pathom Ratchapat University, Thailand. Saya juga adalah alumnus dari Sastra Inggris UAD di tahun 2009. Selama hampir 5 tahun saya kuliah di Sastra Inggris UAD, ada banyak dan juga kesan yang menarik selama saya kuliah di situ. Pertama dari dosennya yang sangat suportif, terus juga staff serta fasilitas yang ada di sana sangat menunjang hobi saya. Dan saya sangat berterima kasih untuk UAD, terutama untuk para dosen yang sangat suportif tidak hanya di bidang akademik, tapi juga di bidang non-akademik.
Bersama rekan saya
Ayu Wandira, bersama kami di Lintas UAD. Inilah berita selengkapnya.
Memiliki dua konsentrasi, broadcasting dan public relation. Program studi Ilmu Komunikasi Universitas Ahmad Dahlan Yoyakarta mempersiapkan para lulusannya menaiki tangga keberhasilan di dunia broadcasting dan public relations. Mahasiswa diharapkan mampu menggali potensi guna menghadapi persaingan di dunia industri. Berbekal ilmu pengetahuan dari bangku perkuliahan, pengalaman, dan jaringan yang cukup luas, sehingga saya berani membuka bisnis homina fotografi sejak tahun 2017 dan mampu bersaing di industri hingga saat ini. Saya bangga menjadi bagian ilmu komunikasi Fakultas Sastra Budaya dan Komunikasi Universitas Ahmad Dahlan Yogyakarta.
Fakultas Sastra Budaya dan Komunikasi terus mengukir prestasi seiring dengan meningkatnya kualitas serta kerjasama. Program beasiswa juga terbuka lebar bagi dosen maupun mahasiswa yang ingin melanjutkan studi baik di dalam maupun di luar negeri. Evaluasi terus kami lakukan untuk menggapai hasil yang maksimal. Fakultas Sastra, Budaya, dan Komunikasi bersama mengukir prestasi.
Since 1960, we have been trying to contribute to the nation by developing and optimizing the potential of the people through education. Every year, more than 7,000 new students from within the country and abroad enroll in UAD. With innovation, technology, and creativity that are based on intellectual and more integrity, perfected by Islamic values, we create a comfortable and stimulating learning atmosphere. The public trust in us is proven by the increasing number of new students from year to year. Currently, there are more than 26,000 active students from various regions of the country. Our continuous internationalization efforts are shown with the distribution of foreign students at our university from various countries. The high-achieving climate developed at the campus supports our chosen students to compete in various competitions, both at national and international levels. We equip students with the required experience to participate in various international cooperation programs through joint degree, double degree, short course, summer camp, and competition programs at international level. As a Muhammadiyah higher education institution, we make all Islam and Kemuhammadiyahan as the foundation for our campus life. Fun learning with various activities are promoted to develop the potentials and interests of the students. The students' organizations and 3 Muhammadiyah autonomic organizations that we offer are the best choice for students to channel their interest and potentials both in academic and non-academic activities. With the increasingly fast technological advances, we improve the quality of our internet connection for comfortable online learning through e-learning, as well as for various payment and tuition transactions. We have a smart room that can integrate all campus management information system that is displayed on executive dashboard system, making it convenient for immediate decision making and providing fast and optimum services for lecturers, educational staff, students, and their guardians. Besides, we can also carry out social media analysis, teleconference, or online meeting. with more than 750 competent educators with the best qualification in their fields. Since 2017, we have been accredited A by the National Accreditation Board for Higher Education. Besides, we also managed to record a variety of notable achievements. We are working to provide quality education with the best learning system for our students. Now, we have 11 faculties and 52 study programs for both undergraduate
Good
and
morning, ladies and
postgraduate.
gentlemen. How are you this morning? I am great. So thank you so much and welcome to our university, Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. Welcome to our faculty and welcome to Islamic Center of UAD. Please be seated because our event is about to start soon. Thank you. The International Conference Symposium of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science begins. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The respectable, the Vice Rector on Academic Affairs of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Mr. Rusdi Umar, Philosophy of Doctor, the Honorable Dr. Kasiyarno M.Hum of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Dr. Luis Placido Francisco Lachica of Capiz State University of the Philippines, the Honorable Dr. ShawHong of Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, and Professor Naidoo of the University of Zululand, South Africa, as all our keynote speakers today. The Honorable, the Dean of the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science, Mr. Wajiran, Philosophy of Doctor, all of the lecturers of faculty, all of the co-hosts of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta, Universitas Diponegoro, and Guangzhou University of Foreign Language, and also all of the audience. We would like to welcome all of you to the International Conference Symposium of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science under the theme, The Role of Literature and Culture in Public Communication to Preserve the World Peace. First of all, let's thank the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, for giving us the opportunity to gather in this holy place without any obstacle in a healthy condition.
We send blessings and salutation upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his household and his companions. We ask Allah to bless them, to bless all those who struggle and strive over the generation in a way that today we are where we are, we've taken the goodness from them. May Allah bless them, bless every one of us, bless our offspring, those to come up to the end, and may Allah grant us all every form of goodness. Amen.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, allow us to read the rundown of our event today. So the opening of our conference today would be started by the opening and then the speeches and also some of the appreciation to our co-host. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, let's open our agenda this morning by saying Basmalah together.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Right. Secondly, let's listen to the recitation of Holy Quran that will be delivered by Mr. Aditya Aziz Eskom. To Mr. Aditya Aziz, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنات عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين والذين إذا فعلوا فاحشة أو ظلموا أنفسهم ذكروا الله فاستغفروا لذنوبهم ومن يغفر الذنوب إلا الله ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا وهم يعلمون Ulaika jazaohum maghfiratum mir rabbihim wa jannat وجنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ونعم أجر العاملين وجنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ونعم أجر العاملين صدق الله العظيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Singing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and Sang Surya. All of the audience, please stand up.
Jadi pandu ibuku.
audience please be seated.
The next agenda is the welcoming speech from the Dean of Faculty of Literature, Culture and Communication of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. To Mr. Wajiran, Philosophy of Doctor, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Bapak Dr. Mukhlas MT, Director of Ahmad Dahlan University. The Honorable Bapak Rusdi Umar PhD, the Vice Rector of Academic Ahmad Dahlan University. The Honorable Bapak Irwan from Muhammadiyah University, and the Honorable all keynote speakers and also all participants of the second selections 2022 of Faculty of Literature, Culture and Communication, Ahmad Dahlan University. First, I would like to welcome you to Ahmad Dahlan University, especially at the Faculty of Literature, Culture and Communication, or we call as FSBK. This faculty is located on the main campus, or campus 4 of Ahmad Dahlan University. I'm delighted to be here as the Dean of FSBK. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our keynote speakers, Professor G.M. Naidoo, Dr. Misbahul Islam PhD, Dr. ShawHong, Dr. Lois Placido Francisco Lachica, and also Dr. Kasiyarno, Master of Humaniora. This symposium is held by FSBK at Ahmad Dahlan University, and this is the second year. We cannot held the symposium for 2 years because of the COVID-19. So in this year, this is the second one. The objective of the symposium is to enlighten wider community regarding the importance of cultural literacy, reflecting the social changes caused by the rapid advancement of information technology. Our chosen theme today is the role of literature and culture in public communication to preserve world peace. We hope that the ideas and thoughts presented in this forum can help resolve various social phenomena that are increasingly concerning. On the other hand, our community enjoys sophisticated technological advances. On the other hand, in terms of social life, various problems have arisen that threaten to damage the very fabric of society. While Indonesia's population is primarily Muslim, the noble values of Islam have begun to erode because of the complacency with the technological advances. Crime due to technological development are increasingly commonplace. Both administrative crime, known as cybercrime, as well as physical crime occurring in our communities are heavily influenced by the spectacle of the social media. Of course, these problems do not occur without a reason. The development of information technology has generated various social problems that must be resolved. Therefore, the symposium is expected to provide input to policymakers in this beloved country. We hope that every participant in this symposium can benefit from the papers discussed, and we also hope that the services we provide can fulfill each of your desires. Following this event, we hope that participants can take advantage not only of the opportunity to present their paper, but also to cooperate with the representative from various circles attending the symposium. We thank the committee members and all co-hosts at this event of their excellent cooperation. We need to inform you that this symposium is possible because of the collaborations between FSBK Ahmad Dahlan University with the Communication Studies Department, Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta University, Applied Foreign Language Department, Diponegoro University, Capiz State University of Philippines, Guangzhou University Foreign Languages China, Chulalongkorn University Thailand, Rifat International University Pakistan, and also the University of Zululand, South Africa. Of course, I also thank the participants of the second Sylection 2022. Hopefully we can continue to hold this event in the near future with wider participants. Finally, welcome to today's series of symposium event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Wajiran, for the very welcoming speech. The next welcoming speech will be delivered by the Vice Rector of Academic Affairs of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Mr. Rusdi Umar, Philosophy of Doctor. To Mr. Rusdi Umar, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. The honorable invited speaker, Professor G.M. Naidoo from University of Zululand, South Africa, Dr. Kasiyarno from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Dr. ShawHong, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, Dr. Placido Francisca Lachica, Capiz State University, Philippines, Misbah Islam PhD from Rifat International University, Pakistan, and also our distinguished guests from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. We have here a Dean, Dr. Wajiran, and from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta, Universitas Muhammadiyah Lampung, Universitas Diponegoro, and Guangzhou University. Our partners from the University of Zululand, Capiz State University, Rifat International University, Chulalongkorn University, and Guangzhou University of Foreign Language. And also all lecturers from different universities and participants. I see a lot of students here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, we are greatly and pleased to welcome you all to Symposium of Literature, Culture and Communication 2022. Unfortunately, all of you can't enjoy the beautiful scenery of Indonesia and especially Yoyakarta due to the pandemic COVID-19. So that the symposium is held virtually, a splendid symposium. The theme of this symposium is the role of literature and culture in public communication to preserve world peace. The theme is chosen due to the anxiety of poor public communication of public officials when interacting at national and international levels, so that national and international political tension often occurs and reaches an alarming level. For instance, communication of public officials dramatically influences the public to comply COVID-19 health protocol and positively correlated with the effectiveness of handling COVID-19. Unfortunately, there were findings in a study using qualitative descriptive method and data collection technique from online trusted media. Several public officials who often make statements controversial issues about COVID-19 that are not completely scientifically based, do not use accurate data and empirical facts. Government through the world can learn many critical lessons from examining instances in effective communication with the public during the global coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Ineffective government communication has resulted in a great deal of public confusion and misunderstanding, as well as a serious error in responding to the evolving health threat, leading to disastrous health and social outcomes for the public and prolonging the pandemic. We hope that from this symposium we can facilitate international level exchanges and sharing of knowledge, experiences, and best practices in public communication to preserve world peace, enable participants to discuss current issues, challenges, and concern regarding the public communication to preserve world peace, promote and enhance collaboration between and among academic institutions. We also do hope that with the symposium, there will be a discourse on the role of literature and culture in public communication to preserve world peace. Finally, I thank to the steering committee, Faculty of Literature, Culture and Communication, Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, and all our partners. Without all of your effort, the symposium will not be held as it is now. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me on behalf of the big family of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan to wish you a fruitful and pleasant this international symposium. I declare that this symposium is officially open. Thank you. Nasir minallah fatun qarib wa basyiril mu'minin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Rodi Umar, for the speech.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we also would like to say thank you for all of the co-hosts of this conference from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta, Universitas Diponegoro, and also Guangxi International University of Foreign Language. Therefore, we would like to invite the representatives of those three universities to come forward to accept the appreciation from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. From Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta, we would like to invite Mr. Erwan Sudiwijaya, MBA, MA. And from Universitas Diponegoro, online, we would like to invite the Dean of the Vocational College at this university, Professor Dr. Insinyur Budiono MSE, as well as the representative of Guangxi University of Foreign Language to come forward. Yeah, Mr. Erwan, yes. Yeah, please. And then the appreciation would be given by the Dean of the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. Yeah, okay. Online, we also would like once again to invite Professor Dr. Insinyur Budiono MSE from Undip as the Dean of the Vocational College.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Budiono.
Alhamdulillah, everything is okay.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
Healthy
Welcome
all.
to the Zoom, sir. Welcome to our university.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, with the committee. Yeah, we also would like to inform that this event is live on Zoom as well as YouTube. So we would like to greet all of the participants joining through Zoom and also YouTube. Everyone can also post the questions later on YouTube and also on Zoom for the questions regarding to the conference and also the seminar. So please participate in this event. Okay, so I think it's not ready. Probably the committee is going somewhere. Well, okay, well, while waiting for the appreciation to be given, we would like to invite again, I'm so sorry sir, Mr. Erwan Sudiwijaya to give a speech representing the co-host of our event today.
Cek. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here today at this wonderful place. My name is Erwan Sudiwijaya. It's such an honor for me to speak on behalf of the co-hosts from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta. I warmly welcome you to the International Seminar on Literature, Culture and Communication 2022. Firstly, thanks to the blessing of the Almighty God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Secondly, I acknowledge my respect to the Faculty of Literature, Culture and Communication of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Yoyakarta for their effort and facility in the making of the international seminar. Further, I would like to thank the committee who have worked hard in the making of the Sylection 2022. Well, I do not want to take too much of your time. I would like to say once more on behalf of the seminar co-hosts, welcome. It's great to see so many of you here. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Erwan Sudiwijaya from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Then another co-host that would deliver a speech is from Universitas Diponegoro. Therefore, we would like to welcome Professor Dr. Insinyur Budiono MSI to give a speech. Professor, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah la hawla wa la quwata illa billah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are in the world. The Honorable Vice Rector of Ahmad Dahlan University, Pak Wakil Rektor, the Honorable Dean of Faculty of Literature, Culture, Communication, and Ahmad Dahlan University, Pak Dekan, Alhamdulillah, terima kasih, saya senang sekali karena saya sangat dekat di hati saya dengan UAD dan juga Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, karena saya di samping Dekan juga Ketua Majelis Lingkungan Hidup Muhammadiyah Jawa Tengah, dan juga sekaligus Sekretaris Pimpinan Daerah Muhammadiyah Kota Semarang, jadi sangat dekat di hati dengan UAD maupun Universitas Muhammadiyah Yoyakarta. The Honorable Keynote Speaker, Professor Naidoo from the University of Zululand, South Africa, Dr. Misbah, UI Islam, PhD from International University, Pakistan, Dr. ShawHong from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, Dr. Placido Francisco Lachica from Capiz State University, Philippine, and Dr. Kasiyarno M.Hum from Ahmad University. All invited speakers, participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Symposium of Literature, Culture, and Communication with the theme, The Role of Literature, Culture in Public Communication and Preserve World Peace. I want to start this speech by saying big thank to the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication, Ahmad Dahlan University, who invited us to be one of co-hosts of this event. It is an honor to collaborate with some Indonesian international universities. I hope that this is the beginning of our collaboration and partnership. And in the future, I hope we can have more and collaboration. And then I invited all of you, I think next year or the next time, this conference also can be held in Diponegoro University. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Check right. Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Budiono, for the really warming speech. And then, thank God, the appreciation is here. So we are ready to give the appreciation for all of the co-hosts for this event. Therefore, once again, sir, I'm so sorry, I would like to welcome Mr. Erwan Sudiwijaya, MBA, MA from UMY, as well as Professor Dr. Insinyur Budiono, MSc, from Undip, as well as the representative from Guangxi University of Foreign Language to come forward to receive the appreciation from the university. I would like to invite the Dean of the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, Mr. Wajiran, PhD, to give the appreciation. Give applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Pak Erwan, thank you. Please be seated. Then, that is for the appreciation. We would like to say thank you once again for UMY, Undip, and also Guangxi University of Foreign Language.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the plenary session. All presentation and discussion with keynote speakers will be moderated by our moderator, Mr. Handung Patriajaya, SPD, MA. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our moderator, Mr. Handung Patriajaya, SPD, MA.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, so once again, the Honorable, the Vice Rector of Academic Affairs of UAD, Mr. Rusdi Umar, Philosophy of Doctor, the Honorable, the Dean of the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science of UAD, Mr. Wajiran, PhD, the Honorable, all of the keynote speakers, and also the co-hosts from UMY, Undip, and Guangxi University of Foreign Language. I'm so glad to see everyone here, as what has been mentioned by Mr. Wajiran earlier, that we were unable to conduct this event for around 2 years due to the pandemic. And we are so glad to welcome each and every one of you to this event. to see each other face to face to discuss the current issues regarding to the literature, culture, and also communication science. Well, my name is Patria Handung Jaya, and I'm from this university, from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, and I'm going to guide this event so far for the keynote speakers. And I would like to ask every one of you to be active by asking questions, by paying attention of the materials. Well, we have 4 speakers today. Unfortunately, that we only have really limited time. For each of the speaker, we only have 30 minutes for the materials. We will have all of the speakers delivering their material first, so we will have around 120 minutes, 2 hours to deliver the materials. After all the keynote speakers deliver the materials, then there will be a discussion session or Q&A session for everyone offline here in this room, as well as everyone in YouTube or in the Zoom. Right, so without any further ado, I would like to invite our first keynote speaker for today's event. Please welcome Dr. Kasiyarno, Magister Humaniora. Please get applause. Okay, before delivering the materials, allow me to read a short CV of Mr. Kasiyarno. So his full name is, with the title, Dr. Kasiyarno Magister Humaniora, and he is a lecturer in the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication Science of this university. And then his educational background was the American Studies program at Universitas Gadjah Mada in 2013, and the job experience was amazing because he was the president, the chancellor or director of Universitas Ahmad Dahlan in 2007 until 2019. So he knows exactly UAD. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Assalamualaikum. How are you this morning, Pak Kasiyarno? Yes. Okay, so the journal and the book that he made were amazing. Number 1 is the book entitled Understanding American Hegemony in 2022. And then for the journal were entitled When American Values Unite Jews and Muslims in the United States. And also a mutualism between American and Islamic values in Race and Al-Mahindra's Bulan Terbelah di Langit America in 2022 as well. The materials that will be delivered by him is introducing literature to the open society. I do believe that it will be really interesting, so please welcome Mr. Kasiyarno, M.Hum.
The Honorable Dean of 3 faculties in collaboration in this international conference, Dean of Faculty of Letters in, what is? No. How many universities you have of collaboration? 4. 4. Yeah. No, I mean the institution. No, I mean the Universitas the Dean of Faculty of Letters in Guangxi University of Foreign Language, and then got Dean of the Faculty of Letters of the Undip, Semarang, Dean of the Faculty of Communication, UMY, and also Dean of the Faculty of FSBK, UAD, and also, I'm sorry, the Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, Dr. Umar. Distinguished keynote speakers, ladies and gentlemen, students, once again, good morning. Well, the great pleasure for me to be invited in this occasion to share some knowledge in this conference. Well, the theme of this conference is related with the globalization, you know, and the globalization is moved by the advancements of technology, especially in the transportation technology and also information and communication technology, so that people in living in any parts of the world can communicate with each other easily and freely, and they can also watch or have a look some event happening in the different part of the world, so that this big world seems to be a very small or a little village, you know, because people in which can communicate or interact with each other without any limitation of time and space. Well, today I would like to share with you about a topic, especially in relation with the literary works. How can a literary work bring an open society, you know, as the globalization is also identical with the open society. Well, let us start by having known the word literature is really derived from, or comes from the Latin term that is literatura, which derived from the lettera, meaning handwriting or letters. You know? So the definition of literature differs in time and space according to Terry Eagleton. You know? There have been many ways to define literature. He just said that to consider the definition not only from fictional, also imaginative words, but also the use of language in particular ways. So by this approach, literature transforms and intensifies ordinary language and divided systematically from every speech. And in general, we can define what is literature. Literature can be defined as the imaginative work that pictures the human life in a society which can be enjoyed, understood, and also used by a society. While the literary production can also, in the form of visual, such as writing from a pictorial, and also acoustic element in the spoken word. And based on the theory of literature by Rene Welch and Austin Warren, it is believed that literature work is concerned much with the matter of values because they belong to humanities. Any values like moral values, socio-cultural values, economical values, political values, and which are beneficial for human life, that can be found in literary work. So, the few that considers literary works as if they have no use because they are unable to change the civilization of human history has in fact been widely refuted or denied, both theoretically and empirically. From the theoretical side perspective, several experts on history, politics, and also culture have shown the significant role of written work for fundamental changes in nation. Take for example, in Indonesia, maybe everyone has read this literary work that is Habis Gelap Terbitlah Terang by Kartini as a national heroine. Yeah. This literary work potentially changes the mindset on the role of and status of the woman in Indonesian society. Yeah. Formerly or traditionally, women in Indonesia were considered as the second-class people whose job is limited to the domestic job, domestic work. But because of this literary work, Habis Gelap Terbitlah Terang, the mindset of the Indonesian people is open, and the status of women can improve. Yeah? And that is why women in Indonesia now can freely work outside the house or the home. Even we had also a president from a woman, that is Bu Megawati. Maybe that is because of the Habis Gelap Terbitlah Terang inspired our mind. While empirically, the great history of nation in the world has proven how strong the influence of literary work is, including novels, in building the life of a nation. Take for example here, we have some influencing works or literary works that can be perceived here. One is the Mahabharata, you know. Mahabharata is also popular in our country, beside Ramayana, you know. That is probably compiled between the 3rd century before Christ era and the 3rd century Christ era. This one is the longest epic poem by Krishna Dvipayana. And this epic may have an influence, a potential influence to the Indian people. You know? In Indian culture, the idea of karma, you know, karma, or the influence of past deeds to the present is an important element of Mahabharata and also Ramayana. That is so believed that Hinduism or Buddhism. Yeah? So this is also another proof that literary work may influence the mindset of the people, of big people. The second example, like Max Havelaar in 1860, this is a novel by Multatuli or Edward Douwes-Dekker, which is stated by Pramudia Anantutur as the best story, the book that killed colonization, in the New York Times on April 18, 1999 at the time. And it contains a critique of the arbitrariness of the Dutch colonial government in the Dutch East Indies. East Indies mean including also Indonesia, of course. Yeah. The next example that literary work have some influence on the mindset of the people is common sense. This is a 47-page pamphlet written by Thomas Paine in 1775 to 1776 that advocated independence from Great Britain to people in the 13 British colonies in American land. We are sure that the struggle of the founding fathers of the United States at that time also inspired by this literary work titled Common Sense by Thomas Paine, right? Well, the literary work in this globalization era, of course, has some challenges. Yeah? However, especially in this digital era, that literary work have faced a number of serious challenges from the emergence of various social media platforms. Because of this media, spend more time, people can spend more time to involve passively or actively in the social media, and less to find the literary work as a way to improve their knowledge or competencies. In this case, everybody can freely express their ideas in the social media. Even through the media, they can be citizen journalists or citizen journalism. It's not limited for you, for student, for anybody having this opportunity to become a citizen journalist without any study in journalism through the social media platforms. The use of social media as a fairly massive spread of ideas in community has also begun to shape the pattern of reading habits. This is become our attention, serious attention, where, for example, the teacher status as a baby boomer like me, and also my colleagues, who also become teachers, they belongs to maybe millennial generation, but their student belongs to generation Z or Z generation. That is the gap. And they have different habits in learning. Nowadays we can recognize the way our children learn. They don't depend much on books, but on their gadgets or electronic resources. Right? That is the problem that becomes the challenge of literary work. By the way, literary works can bring up open society, right? Well, the term open society was first mentioned by the French philosopher Henri Bergson in his work, The Two Sources of Morality and Religion, in 1932. The main idea in an open society is the creation of a society that encourages every citizen to have considerable individual freedom. Like in our idea, our principle is democracy, This idea was, of course, happened again by Karl Popper in 1945, who asserts that the opposite of open society is totalitarian society. Despite the changes in reading patterns, digital technology has allowed narrative to be spread in the form of electronic books. This opens up opportunities for the growth of a civilization based on open society. That is a concept that was first used by French philosopher Henri Bergson. And he also explored the deeper by Karl Raimond Popper in the open society and the enemies. Volume 1, The Spell of Plato and the Open Society and Its Enemies. Volume 2, The High Tide of Property, Hegel, Marx, and the After Red, published in 1945. Well, besides challenges, of course, the open society created by the literary work also has a kind of enemies. Yeah? In proper eyes, the intellectual roots of modern totalitarianism can be traced to the thinking developed by Plato, Hegel, and Marx. Yeah? Proper calls these elites forming the totalitarianism the enemies of open society. So open society has enemies called totalitarianism. On the hands of the intellectual elites, society moves in a deterministic manner under the control of the elites. And we try to find the criteria of the open society. The Proper, again, provides a number of criteria for open society, that is, a society that provides personal responsibility. So in this case, in building an open society, everybody is very important. They or everybody has their own responsibility to their environment. We have also critical rationalism. So critique is allowed, but it should be rational or logical. An acknowledgement of human error. Human error is something natural, you know, that it's an actuality. Counterfeiting as the essence of science thinking. An acknowledgement that social institutions are human-made and piecemeal social engineering. Well, Proper also labels Plato, Marx, and Hegel as a holist and also historical. What is meant by the historic? Holistic here is a person, thank you, who assumes that individuals are wholly the product of formation by their social groups, whereas the historicists believe that social groups are formed from internal deterministic principles that intellectual elites can correct. And the basic idea of open society here is that every individual can decide what to fight for and opens up opportunities for the growth of diversity of opinions and perspectives in society, as well as the availability of alternative mechanisms to translate these diverse perspectives in public space. The digital openness, in this current era, the openness, data transparency is a fundamental part of the characteristic of an open society. If we put this idea into education, it becomes a major basis for the growth of the open education, such as the open school, open university movement, open course toolkits, and open education resources, etc. Well, narrative-wise, in literary work, to this digital era, narrative can spread, transfigure, and strengthen the implausible intensity and rapidity. Narrative voice is the perspective of the story on the point of view in the mind of the author or the narrator. Okay? Now, the open society has also resistant to the situation. There are two narrative voices expressed in the Nobel laureate works, namely resistant narrative and partisan narrative. What is by narrative resistance? It's a concept that exists to resist power and oppression and to support the effort of people to struggle against the dangerous event from the real life. While the, I bring an example from the Nobel laureate, that's Abdul Razak Gurnah, yeah? One of the latest Nobelists to be awarded the Nobel Prize, and he was a Zanzibar-born novelist, settled in England, and he successfully writing some best work like Paradise, Admiring Silence, Pilgrim Way, By the Sea, Desertion, Last Gift, Gravel Heart, and Afterlives. Yeah? He became the second black people after Toni Morrison, who lived in United States. Yeah. Gurnah works clearly carry a narrative voice. For example, in Paradise, the character dominance is evident in the narrator's utterances, which seem to have more power and knowledge. Power in Gurnah works is firstly considered as a form of self-affirmation, while secondly, the power is exercised as a way of seeking satisfaction by exploiting economic resources. Well, so beside the resistance, we have also partisan narrative. Gurnah became a novelist who considered that one must be on the side of partisan of humanity, as it is reflected in all his work that emphasize or clarify his side to human rights that should be owned and inspired by African nations and certainly by all nations in the world. Well, sorry, we have more time. The standing position of Gurnah on his work is obviously support the idea of open society, since he views literature as an arena of artistic expression that pursue to advance the society as a place to live together for everybody, and also believe that various literature works have influenced all people with variety of life experiences in different manner. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please give applause to Dr. Kasiyarno. So that was a very interesting topic, talking about how to bring the literature to the open society and how the literature can give a lot of influence to the society, not only influence but also challenges as well, and also how it can reconstruct the society in a good way. Well, okay, I think we start from my microphone. It's okay? Okay. Yeah, okay, this is good. So that was the first discussion, the first materials delivered by Dr. Kasiyarno. Yeah, and then thank you so much, Pak Rusdi Umar. Okay, and then we are going to proceed to the second discussion. We would like to again remind everyone in this room and also online, Zoom or YouTube, to prepare the questions or the discussion topic that will be discussed after all of the keynote speakers delivered the materials. Now, we are going to go to the second discussion, and then the second discussion would be delivered by Dr. Luis Placido Francisco Lachica from Capiz State University, Philippines. Okay, so before that, probably I would like to make sure that Dr. Louis is here. Good morning, Dr. Louis Lachica.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here. Are you ready to share with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much for making your time to share with all of us here. Before delivering the materials, I would like to read a bit of the curriculum vitae of Dr. Louis Lachica. I hope that I mention your name correctly, sir. I'm so sorry if I make a mistake in saying your name. Well, so his full name is Louis Placido Francisco Lachica, and then he's a director of Social Science and Industrial Technology Research Development Center in Capiz State University of the Philippines, or CAPSU, and his academic rank is Associate Professor 4. Then he lives in Sylection, Dahlan, Capiz, Philippines. And then he has a lot of experience here that I could not read one by one because probably of the limitation of the time. I would like to only read a bit of his achievement. For the educational background, he graduated from Panay State Polytechnic College in 2001, and then in West Visayas State University as a Bachelor of Secondary Education in English in 2005, then graduate studies from Capiz State University and the University of the Philippines, Los Baños in 2008 and 2014. Then the international conference attended by him are such as the Best Paper Presenter Awardee in English and Communication category, and the Best Paper Awardee in Social Science category, as well as the presenters or paper presenters, the Best Paper Awardee, the 10th International Conference and Scientific Meeting of the Philippine Networks of Educators on the Environment. Well, so without any further ado, by delivering the materials entitled Rethinking about Science Communication in a Global Society, Discourses in a Graduate School Classroom. Sir, you have 30 minutes to deliver the materials and the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me first share my screen.
Yes, sir, you may.
Okay, so a pleasant morning, everyone, especially in Indonesia, especially to the Sylection 2022 Symposium of Literature, Culture, and Communication of the Universitas Ahmad, and to the Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication. I am Louis Placido F. Lachica from Capiz State University in the Philippines. I am currently at home right now because there is a tropical depression, but nevertheless, the presentation must go on, and I will be presenting the paper titled Rethinking about Science Communication in a Global Society, Discourses in a Graduate School Classroom. So this actually emanated from our discussions in the graduate school, knowing that in the current situation in the Philippine context, information, communication science, science communication is very important, especially during crucial times, may it be in politics or during the pandemic whatsoever. So science communication is defined according to the University of Newcastle in 2014 as a variety of practices that transmit scientific ideas, methods, knowledge, and research to non-expert audiences in an accessible, understandable, or useful way. Because basically that is the problem. Sometimes there is a gap between how the scientist would want their work to be understood and how the public is understanding the work of the scientist. There is a gap somehow, somewhere in between. And in 2005, Dr. Maria Teresa H. Velasco, the retired Dean of the College of Communication at the University of the Philippines in Los Baños, described science communication as fostering, understanding, appreciation, and application of science and the science process in a manner that encourages participation by various stakeholders. She further added that cognizance of the problem of science emphasizes knowing the what, how, and the why of science and technology communication, in addition to knowing about the latest scientific findings and discoveries. The need to understand science and the scientific process is basic to understanding and appreciation of science and technology. And it is also important to look at science communication as a process that considers the participation and interaction. And so our curiosity on these things could be based on the following survey. The survey says that 51% of Filipinos find it difficult to spot fake news, especially right now in the advent of social media popularity. 70% of Filipinos say that fake news is a serious problem, and that is according to the survey of the Social Weather Station just this year. Another survey from the Pulse Asia in September 2022 that 58% of Filipinos said social media influencers, bloggers, and or vloggers spread false information, may it be in politics, government, health, etc. So what do we know about science and how we think it benefits society? So according to the survey of Wellcome Global Monitor in 2018, 72% of people globally trusts scientists, and over half, or 57% of the world's population don't think they know much, if anything, about science. And that data is challenging our status quo right now on how science should be appreciated by the public, especially that they are trying to convey scientific, evidence-based, and accurate information for the general public, for the common good. The significant gap in what men and women say they know about science, the survey of Wellcome Global Monitor in 2020 said that men are more likely to claim greater knowledge of science than women. So 49% of men worldwide say they know some or a lot about science, compared with 38% of women. So this gender gap exists even when men and women report equal levels of science attainment. As to the people's trust in science and scientists has increased globally, those who said they trust scientists a lot rose from 34% in 2018 to 43% by the end of 2020. And these increases were highest among those who indicated that they know some or not much or nothing at all about science. So for people who are not sure that their governments value scientific advice, world leaders need to listen and show that they share public confidence in the role of science in solving health challenges fairly for everyone. Again, that is according to the survey of Wellcome Global Monitor in 2020. Now, as to the benefits of science to society, 69% said that science benefits people like them, and 41% believe that science benefits most of the people in their country. 15% were of the opinion that only a few people only enjoys the benefits of science. And probably from this figure, there might be several factors which could be associated why that it turned out to be this way. So notably, people in high-income countries who face financial hardships are 3 times more likely to doubt the benefits of science, as revealed by the survey of Wellcome Global Monitor in 2019. In terms of the public knowledge about science, 57% of the respondents, this is in 2019, 57% of the respondents admitted that they did not know much about science. 49% of men say that they possess some or a lot of scientific knowledge, and 38% of women said that they possess some or a lot of scientific knowledge. Okay, so for public trust in science, 54% trust scientists moderately, 18% has a high trust level in science, 14% had little trust in scientists, and 13% deemed not to know how much they trust scientists. So there is more work that needs to be done to address the gender gap in science, as 15% of women are engaged with and are interested in science, whereas 21% of men are engaged with and interested in science. So as to how science is appreciated more on the macro level, societal level, than the micro level every day, 63% believe that science is very important to society in general, and 46% believe that science is very important to their everyday lives. People are largely unconscious of science and its impact on their lives because 66% think about the impact of science has on their everyday lives a little to never. So these demographics would fall onto people who have doubts about science and would always believe in a lot of aspects that might affect them. And this could probably be associated also with our beliefs, our value system, and our culture. It could be a local context of culture, or it could be an acculturated aspect of culture as applied to the global setting. Okay, 87% of the world finds science fascinating and not boring. Good thing. But 40% think if science didn't exist, their lives wouldn't be that different. In the Philippine setting, as to the social media use among Filipinos in the latest report from We Are Social and Hootsuite, there are 76 million out of the 103 million Filipinos who have access to the internet. And 97% use Facebook, 96% use YouTube, 64% use Instagram, and 54% use Twitter. So the central question that we have right now is that what are the discourses on science communication in a global society in a graduate school classroom? This question was prompted with the fact that most of my graduate students have been telling me a lot about what they have seen in social media, a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation, even in the educational system, that sometimes students would have the difficulty of discerning what is factual from fictitious or from what is believable or not. The source credibility of information is being challenged. With the advent of social media right now, most people would even believe in vloggers without formal training in journalism or broadcasting, for example, that these people or professions have long years of training in order to bring accurate and real information to the public. So sometimes they are being disregarded because of the popularity, the emerging popularity right now of social media personalities, not necessarily trained as professional journalists, would bridge the gap between the public and the scientists when we talk about science communication. And so we use transcendental phenomenology for this study. We have 10 MA English students for this, and we have a series of sessions. We have at least 3 virtual sessions to discuss on this matter. And we have interview schedules. We use in vivo coding and, of course, narrative discourse analysis in order to make sense of the data that we have generated from our paper. And so as to the results, there are around 7 discourses that emerged from this. We have science communication discourses in a graduate school classroom, popularizing research and evidence-based knowledge, focusing on truth and authenticity, synergy of thinking skills, social media engagement, science communication in policymaking, emancipation and empowerment through education, and peace and global understanding. Okay, so we'll be discussing each of these discourses that emerge from our data. So for the first one, the first discourse is on popularizing research and evidence-based knowledge. So the first sub-theme that we found out is that bringing science closer to people. This is in the context of science communication. So according to one graduate student, we call that student as graduate student 8, science communication brings science closer to people. And I remember the Department of Science and Technology had been steadfastly promoting how people would be able to appreciate the work of science. The Department of Science and Technology that the student has been talking here is the Department of Science and Technology of the Philippine government. So scientific and technical information should be more understandable to people in a way that it will be appreciated and understood. So the findings of Meneses et al. In 2022 underscore the complexity of systemic barriers to inclusive science communication on the critical need for resource sharing and network building and the importance of evaluation frameworks. So we are all well on our way to getting science communication caught up with the dramatic advances in general communication from past decades. And if we all join in, the next decade will bring science communication to a whole new level, ready for the many generations to come and ready for the future leaders in science. That is according to Janse in 2016. The next sub-theme focused on the promotion of evidence-based information in all platforms. As graduate student 2 had mentioned that communicating scientific and technical information is crucial in conscientiously positioning society's understanding of any information with utmost accuracy. And we need to promote evidence-based knowledge. So science will be useless if not communicated, and it is important to underscore how science could be promoted by all means and far-reaching to diverse audiences. So according to Jensen and Jerby in 2020, effective science communication can empower research and innovation systems to address global challenges and put public interest at the heart of how knowledge is produced, shared, and applied. For science communication to play this mediating role effectively, we propose a more integrated and evidence-based approach. So science communication is pivotal in the development of the emergence of digital communication platforms that are not only presenting new opportunities, but also leading to new challenges. So in this context, science communicators, who can include scientists, researchers, curators, journalists, and other types of content produced, may require new types of preparation and support to engage with multiple audiences across multiple channels. For the second discourse that emerged is on focusing on truth and authenticity. So the first sub-theme focused on fact-checking. So according to graduate student number 5, science communication has taught us to take fact-checking very seriously. In a world where information overload is just fingertips away, people could become overwhelmed in discerning the truth, and we should not be victims of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So when we talk about misinformation, of course, it refers to false information that is not intended to cause harm, whereas disinformation would refer to false information that is intended to manipulate, cause damage, or guide people, organizations, and countries in the wrong direction. Whereas malinformation refers to information that stems from the truth, but is often exaggerated in a way that misleads and causes people harm. So in a generation where information is easily available, problems on discerning authenticity occurs. People should not fall as victims, again, of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So according to Ohio University, 19, internet makes it easy for billions of people to access information with a few simple keystrokes. However, it also makes it easy to spread false information, which can have disastrous effects on both individuals and societies as a whole. So for this reason, it is important to fact-check sources of information. Fact-checking is important because misinformation can sway your opinion and in turn your opinion can largely inform your actions, and if you base your actions on false information, you can easily make wrong decisions, and these decisions can lead to unintended consequences. For example, if you share fake news on a social media platform and people find it out that it's fake, it could negatively impact their opinion on your credibility, or the fake news you share could go viral and shape the outcome of an election. Number 2 is focused on agenda setting, and according to graduate student 1, in development journalism class, we have learned that mass media has the power to influence the importance given to various topics to what the public thinks, and how we gatekeep information may affect the decision of the people. We need to learn how issues are framed and how it is being shaped and reshaped. Right now, there is the emergence of citizen journalism, and bloggers with no formal training in journalism tend to contest the credibility of news and information from legitimate journalists. So the graduate students have realized how crucial agenda setting is when it comes to information gatekeeping. So 3 aspects of agenda building are particularly noteworthy when it comes to communicating science. First is the news holes. An example, the space available for content in news outlets have been shrinking, especially for scientific issues. And in addition, the fact that fewer and fewer full-time science journalists are used by major news outlets. That is according to Dunwoody in 2013. And further, it limits the likelihood of scientific issues making it into the news agenda. Second, research shows that science seldom gets covered for the sake of science alone. And third aspect of the agenda building that is particularly relevant to science relates to the fact that lay publics who seek information about scientific topics increasingly turn to online sources. And that is according to Brossard in 2013. The third discourse that emerged focused on synergy of thinking skills. The first subtheme is on critical thinking. So we are all living in a global village, and each anchored on a state. As world citizens, critical thinking guides us to think of problems, and it is in identifying fundamental issues that we can provide real solutions. Science communication will allow us to reflect, and it will enable us to think. And that is according to graduate student number 9. So critical thinking, of course, is needed in making judgments, especially when we are identifying problems. And according to Dr. Norman Herr, a professor of science, critical thinking skills can be boiled down to the following sequential elements. Number 1 is on the identification of premises and conclusions, meaning to say, breaking down arguments into logical statements. Second, clarification of arguments. So when we identify ambiguity or confusions in these stated assertions. Third, establishments of facts. So search for contradictions to determine if an argument or a theory is complete and reasonable. Fourth, evaluation of logic. So use inductive and deductive reasoning to decide if conclusions drawn are adequately supported. And the fifth one is on the final evaluation. So meaning we have to weigh the arguments against the evidence presented. So and as educators, we must teach our students those critical thinking skills and practice them ourselves to objectively analyze an onslaught of information, because ideas, especially plausible sounding philosophies, should be challenged and pass the credibility litmus test. That is according to Dominello in 2021. The second sub-theme is on creative thinking. So innovative problem solving will foster the creation and feasible and plausible solutions to problems. And it will help bridge the misunderstanding or the gap between nations or even in any social strata of the society. So creative thinking delves on solving problems, especially in offering solutions. So according to Baker in 2014, while critical thinking analyzes information and roots out the true nature and facets of problems, it is creative thinking that drives progress forward when it comes to solving these problems. So exceptional creative thinkers are people that invent new solutions to existing problems that do not rely on past or current solutions. The fourth discourse is on social media engagement. So especially in the Philippine context, we know from the introduction that I had presented, according to the survey, that there are those around millions and millions of Filipinos who are hooked with social media right now, as compared to being hooked the mass media in television, in radio, in print, or the usual traditional sources of information. So the first sub-theme is on taking global issues to become locally relevant. So according to the graduate student, number 10, social media has a crucial role in a global society. The extent of awareness of global issues has expanded, and this promoted it to become locally relevant as it may affect the ground level. So global issues may affect the ground level or the local community. So in so doing, those issues become relevant, thus making people aware of how to anticipate in addressing the prevalent problems that they have encountered. So the distinctive feature of global problems is the lack of central authority for coordination and authority, according to the World Bank in 2018. The second sub-theme is on effective communication of science over social media. So for graduate student 6, scientific knowledge or results are communicated effectively if social media is used in a good way. If social media is used correctly, conflicts over beliefs and values will be minimized, not entirely avoided. And it is still a long way, but it will work. So social media platforms can be a good and bad place for debates about global challenges. The inclusiveness and equality are great, and this is unparalleled compared to offline arenas that are limited by time and space, thus highlighting the potential for social media to empower citizens, both in their roles as ordinary citizens and as consumers or activists that challenge corporate behavior. On the other hand, the distinct lack of ongoing reciprocal exchange of information or dialogue is a critical challenge, highlighting issues with using social media to debate global challenges. So the lack of dialogue suggests that we need to be careful about using social media platforms to discuss global challenges. Still, the use of social media to discuss global challenges is rapidly growing. So hence, we cannot disregard the importance of social media, but perhaps we can rethink their role in global discussions, according to the Business Society in 2021. The third sub-theme is on understanding of competing messages and sources of information. So for graduate student 4, I believe that it's not an issue of which social media platform is better for getting messages or information understood. And it is a matter of addressing the problem of making competing messages and sources of information better understood and clearly understood. So it's not an issue whether you will be using TikTok, for example, or Twitter or Instagram to relay your information. So the internet and social media tools have created new opportunities for open science, including communicating in more interactive ways and sharing research data. Drawing on evidence from interviews and a survey of academics in the United Kingdom, the research suggests, according to Zhu and Purdam in 2017, that most scholars recognize the value and importance of more open science communication and data sharing. But many had concerns about the potential risks. A small group who can be termed super users were frequently communicating updates of their ongoing research. And it is clear that there are increasing opportunities for more open science and public engagement, but challenges remain. The fifth discourse is on science communication in policymaking. So the sub-theme focused on scientific and technical information in formal policy processes. So according to graduate student 7, science communication gives policymakers adequate and necessary scientific and technical information to substantiate formal policy processes. And this is vital in making the policies proactive to serve their very purpose. So science communication allows policymakers to be guided when making decisions. So scientific and technical information is increasingly used in National Research Council reports according to Yoti et al. In 2017. That is used and associated with a variety of report characteristics, the aspects of public policy environment, committee characteristics, and the origin of the request. But on the other hand, scientific and technical information does not make National Research Council reports more likely to be used by Congress. And I believe it's a challenge among governments in several nations how scientific and technical information through policies being offered by the think tanks could be accepted or could be considered by the policymakers or the lawmakers themselves. The sixth discourse is on emancipation.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Dr. Lachica.
Yes, sir.
You have 3 more minutes.
Okay, sir. So emancipation and empowerment through education. So for emancipation through empowerment and education, the first sub-theme is on science communication in making informed choices and decisions. So science-based information must provide informed choices and decisions to people. And this is the core of science communication, to allow people to figure it out themselves, because we want people to be empowered and they will be emancipated, according to graduate student number 2. The second sub-theme is on the role of academic institutions in propelling science communication. So the institutions would have a role, a very important role in propelling or promoting science communication. So according to one graduate student, educational institutions, including ours, has a role in making science communication felt, and that the academe can propel science communication as a catalyst for positive change. And the last discourse is on peace and global understanding. The first sub-theme focused on the impact for a better world. So for me, science communication changes our knowledge, attitudes, and practice in any aspect of society, political, economic, and all others that directly impact our lives, and we need it for a better world. World peace is said to be impossibly attained. However, when we try to embrace cultural diversity and understanding, we develop a sense of sensitivity towards others. Peace will prevail, according to graduate student 5. Next sub-theme, preparing learners for future-proofing. So learners must be prepared in these times of uncertainty, because science communication will help us realize the need for future-proofing. So we have to anticipate the future. We plan and replan to be successful in the future, even if the situation changes. And so we conclude that the emerging discourses of Filipino graduate students reflect how they perceive science communication when positioned globally and locally. Science communication serves as a conduit for making science relevant and impactful to all contexts through sound and accurate knowledge sharing and engagement of scientific and technical information. We also recommend that science communication may be emphasized in an academic setting by integrating it into allied disciplines to maximize its practical application. And this study may be replicated by exploring other methodologies and by collaborating with international partner educational institutions to look into intercultural and cross-cultural constructs along this research interest. These are our references. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lachica, for the amazing presentation. Salamat. Yeah, that was a very interesting discussion, but unfortunately, like I told you guys earlier, that we only have 30 minutes. So yeah, we have a very limited time, and we will directly proceed to our next discussion. Once again, I would like to remind everyone here in this room offline or online to prepare discussion or questions. So everyone can type the questions on Zoom or on YouTube. But of course, everyone can also directly ask the question here, especially for those who join this event offline. Okay. Is everyone still excited for the third and the fourth discussion? Hello, is everyone here and excited? Yes, okay, good. Thank you so much. Okay, good. So we are going to proceed directly to the third discussion. And the third discussion from Philippines, we are going to fly to Thailand. And I would like to invite our third keynote speakers. He is Dr. ShawHong Ser. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Sawadee Krap.
Sawadee Krap. How are you this morning?
Good, good. Thank you, thank you. ขอบคุณมาก
Yeah. Everyone is really excited to listen to your discussion, right? And are you ready, sir?
Yes, yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So before delivering the materials, I would like to read a little bit of the curriculum vitae from Dr. ShawHong Ser. Sir, hopefully that I mention your name correctly. I'm so sorry if I make any wrong pronunciation. Well,
No, no, it's
so
correct.
Dr. ShawHong Ser is the Vice Chairman of the Communication Management Programs, the Faculty of Communication Arts, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. And he is also the professor in Master of Communication and Media Studies, University Telematica Pegaso from Italy. Well, so Dr. ShawHong Ser received his DBA in Design Management from University of Information Technology and Management in Rzeszów, Poland, EMA in Museology from IULM University of Italy, MA in Cultural Management from Chulalongkorn University, and BFA in Communication Design from University of Tasmania, Australia. He is highly regarded as a passionate, resourceful, and goal-driven academic with creative approach that is proven successful in inspiring and leading students and individuals of different backgrounds. There are a lot of the professional experience that he got, like 3 of them are thought branding design and management, design and communication, arts appreciation, culture and communication studies for undergraduate level, then supervised and evaluated graduate student in thesis project, as well as conducted research under the scope of communication and cultural management and design management studies. He also had a lot of experience, for example, head of School of Communication and Creative Arts in KDU, University College in Selangor, Malaysia, from July till December 2013, and then from August 2012 and until June 2013, becoming the assistant professor in communication design in the international program at School of Architecture and Design, King Mangkut's University of Technology, Tanburi, Bangkok, Thailand. Well, it's impossible for me to read everything because it's like really a lot of information and really meaningful experience. And today, Dr. ShawHong Ser would be delivering materials entitled Rethinking Museum Storytelling, the Opportunities and Challenges. So without any further ado, Dr. ShawHong Ser, the time is yours for the next 30 minutes.
Okay, ขอบคุณครับ So everybody can see my screen share, right? Can you see my screen share?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's really visible.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, ขอบคุณครับ Okay, I would like to say a big thank you for having me here today from UAD and all the colleagues, from different universities across the Asia, and especially, to Miss Nunik, friends, who I'm so well connected currently, also one of the faculty members in your respective university. Now, so when I was given this opportunity to talk about or to share about something that is related to literature, communication, public communication, and so on. So it was actually a challenge for me because, as you can see, my background is mostly related to creative industry, and particularly on the cultural management aspect of museum and gallery in Thailand. So I have prepare this presentation and hopefully could give you another perspective when thinking about, storytelling, literature, and communication, how things has changed over the year, particularly in the context of museum management. So rethinking museum and storytelling, opportunities and challenges. Now, when we talk about, places, or when we talk about a venue that we are able to explore to culture and historical study of the nations, mostly when we visit to, any city around the world. For example, when I went to Yoyakarta in year 2009, a part of visiting Borobudur, Prambanan, and definitely I will go to the palace and I will go to the museum. So museum is the place that, where the local story or literature or the historical aspect will be presented through a form of exhibition. So exhibition is the way that how this work as a channel or the platform of how the story will be communicated to the domestic and the international visitor. But when we talk about the context of learning or engaging or communicating with information via a venue that known as a museum, then we probably before look at what is going on currently in Southeast Asia, particularly I would talk about Bangkok. Let's look at the context back to how do we think about museum, as a space. Now, according to the Adam Gopnik museum model, that he proposed in 2006. Now, at the very beginning, when we think about museum is the place when we walk in, we will need to be very serious. We will need to quiet because we are encountering with a magnificent collections from the man's civilization. So, to put it simple, museum in that context is like a temple. So when we walk in, we are there to worship, we are there to celebrate, our past achievement, either we learn it from the historical object or the storytelling, through the other way that prepared by the museum. But later on, as our civilization and our culture evolve, the role and the functions of museum change accordingly to serve, either the political development, social development, economic development, and technological development. So we see museum move from, like a very holistic place of knowledge into a place of, knowledge transformation, not only exclusively through the archaeological or historical study. Museum slowly moved to become a place of education, not only exclusively to historical context, but now expanded to cultural study, humanities, science, and technology. And from there, especially at the second half of the 20th century in Southeast Asia, when we see a lot of new nations are popping up, with the era of freeing out the nation out from colonization, we have many museums that has been established in different countries. So, when we are traveling around the region, we can see many national museums, or we can see the museum that dedicate to to the storytelling of the nation building. And then we see that, museums serve as a metaphor of learning about, the modern history of the nation. But since 1997, when the concept of creative economy or creative industry was formally introduced by the United Kingdom's government back then, Tony Blair was elected as the Prime Minister, and he proposed a concept of Creative Britain. And the Creative Britons, once again, to restructure or reconsider about the idea of storytelling, in my perspective, which is, in every nation, there are the creative and cultural aspect that could serve for the purpose of either nation building or economic development and so on. So we see museum move into the era of, commercialization, which is, what we said, when you go to a museum, either to learn about a history or a culture development of a nation or a place or a region, the last space of exhibition is actually the space that, the museum shop. So museums creative product or museum merchandises become an object that we can bring back to continue the story that we have learned from that particular place. Now, currently, there's another concept of museum as a mindfulness, which is, apart from a very top-down approach, because traditionally, museum, and even today, museum is still a very elite-based venue when a group of people were decided, what are the important objects. There are millions of objects, but certain objects will be selected and given a narrative of how this or that particular object will serve as a very important, tangible entity for the nation's storytelling or the cultural identity and so on. And a lot of times, that the perspective is come from the one who are holding the authority and power. And yet, when we are now in the era of museum as mindfulness, or the museum as the mindful place, we are talking about the, instead of top down, now is we are looking back. Is from the bottom that respond up to the top. So we could see that, in recent years there are many interesting news, and as well as the incident, we are learning about museum in Europe are returning their collection or the object that they formerly, acquired, or, getting it through an illegal channel from different parts of the world. So as we can see, now the role of the museum is changing, and the way how a story will be told will definitely, be different. Now, we are now in the 21st century museum environment, which is, that we could see that things are changing because, as the previous two keynote speakers has mentioned about, we are in the era that is so much related to, digital and technology based. So when especially after the millennium, that we see how technology has basically transformed the way that information is being shared and disseminated. So museum no longer just only serve as a tangible place, a part of learning about the museum. For example, people could, if let's say a part of taking a very internationally well-known British museum, a part of visit the museum physically, the website as well of the museum is a very interesting place for people to explore and learning about the place. So in 21st century, apart from the on-site museum, the online museum or the virtual museum has also really transforming the way how we learn about, history, culture, and humanity, especially when come to the time of the pandemic, that we all seeing that the museum are trying to come out many creative approach or the creative way for people to engage with this culture activity. So with the new context, with the new audience that we can see, we are now in a very interesting era, and to see, what we learn from literature, what we learn from communication, and what we learn from cultural study can be realized again in the museum as a new platform. Now, I would like to share with you, a short case study from Thailand, which is a paper that I written in year 2020 about New Generation Museum of Thailand. So, since the year 2004, the knowledge of the Office of the Knowledge Management and Development of Thailand, which is known as OKMD, is proposing, the establishment of the museum. Apart from serving the traditional role, a new role should be given. And this new role, which is the museum, should somehow be connected to the creative and cultural industry development. Okay? And with that context, the new generation of museum in Thailand For example, in 2004, the government initiated a system to spur the creative industry and establish the first one of a kind design museum known as the Thailand Creative and Design Center, TCDC, to promote the knowledge of creative economy. Now, in 2014, after 10 years of the of the policy direction setting and development of the creative industry, the creative industry in 2014 already contribute almost 50 million baht, which is around 30% of the country GDP. So from year 2000 onward, the museum in Thailand have received, and be given an order to tell a story in a completely different way from the traditional museum. Now, when we look at, I name all these museums as a new generation museum because most of these museums, when come to, the storytelling, the story is still the same story as, been written in history and, all related to the history of Thailand and its cultural identity. But when it comes to the storytelling aspect, now most of the museums are employing interactive media and the concept of the participatory museum. Now, if you have an opportunity to come to Thailand, I am more than welcome, to receive you as a guest and bring you to some of these museums. For example, in year 2007, Museum Siam, as one of a very key significant museum at the moment in Bangkok, proposed the concept of Plern, which is museum as a place of, museum as a venue of play and learn. Now, play and learn, it doesn't mean that, is go for fun. A lot of people might think that storytelling today, as the young generation somehow have a shorter concentration and they like things, that can stimulate like their interest. So we need to make learning more fun. We need to make a lot of things more fun. Personally, I don't think fun is the right words to be associated with learning. I think, whatsoever learning will need to be relevant to the context. Now, play and learn, the concept learn is actually that the place like a museum where you can touch, where you can interact with the object, which is traditionally, as we move back to look at the role of the museum as a temple to worship and celebrate our civilization and achievement. Now, the museum try to, engage the audience, not only to look at it, but to tell the story together. So the concept of co-creation, or how can we come together to make museum as an interesting place to play and learn together, become the new missions of the museum today. Now, these are the series of the museum that I have, documented. As you can see, Thailand Creative Design Center, Museum Siam, Bangkok Art and Culture Center, Ratanakosin Exhibition Hall, along with the museum that opened, right at the moment of the pandemic, the King Ramanai Museum. All these museums are part of serving its traditional role for nation development, creative industry, creative economy, urban development, and city branding. Now the role of the museum, apart from the traditional storytelling or education center, there are different stakeholders, look at it and inject it with a different perspective. So in terms of exhibitions as a channel or as a platform for storytelling, we can also see that interactive museum, participatory museum, and pop-up museum, are being seen around, the region. But as I only have, the opportunity to really observe and participate in Thailand, so the case study that I'm showing you today are mostly from Bangkok. Okay. Now, for example, the pop-up museum is a temporary museum that it could be set in a different venue that traditionally did not be considered as the place for us to learn or for us to explore to something. It could be a retail space, it could be a shopping mall, it could be outside a mosque, it could be outside a temple, it could be a train station, it could be a bus station. So the museum was stand for 3 to 5 days for people to have an interaction and move from one city or from one town to another. So if you could, like as what I have shown on the screen, for example, the Thailand Creative Design Center, this is the exhibitions that talking about the aging society and talk about, for the sustainability of a nations, what we can do and what are the challenges and what are the opportunity. And as you can see, the interactive way or the storytelling, because this kind of exhibitions is mostly about conceptualizations. It's not object-based because, it's about information sharing. So what they try to do, is using a lot of latest technology, which is, the audience were able to have an interactions with the exhibition. So the audience are not here only, to see the object, but now every single participation, the words they are writing down on the screen, every, touch screen moment, it will be record and documented and projected as part of the exhibitions. So this is, as I mentioned, the latest way when, participatory is become the new way, or it become the new fancy terms when come to the storytelling, in the museum context. Now, in Museum Siam, apart from the participatory, the museum also involved into a lot of digital projections along with the moving image. There are music and multimedia that showcase a national identity within a half an hour of light and sound performance. From there, we can also see that, the concept of interactions, the museum display is not longer just, the object that showcased right in front of us. That from the image that you could see, the Museum Siam, from the ceiling all the way to the floor, when the audience walk into this space, is a 360-degree interaction that you can have with the given space. The drawer, the boxes, all are welcome for the audience to open and explore. So the audience are having a time to go and play around the space and learn about what is going on. So for example, the other exhibition space, there are plate, display on the wall. The audience could get the plate and put it on the table, and they can learn about, Thai food and the way of cooking. Or it could go back to something very, manually prepared. There are the traditional dress that the audience can dress and take picture along. So this is another, approach that there's a term called the Instagrammable museum. So when people go to the museum, they will collect all these images and put it in their IG account, and again become another way of showcasing or doing a public relation indirectly for the museum as well. So Bangkok Art and Culture Center, when we walk in, we can also see that there are a lot of, video projection, multimedia installation, and so on. The way, how art traditionally are only using, the traditional material has also been transforming into a digital platform. Now, the Ratanakosin Exhibition Hall is the place where we can learn about the history of the present-day Bangkok. Ladies and gentlemen, what can you see on the floor is actually the map of Bangkok. When the audience is stepping on the given circle, so the light of the map will be lightened up and leading the audience to find a way to the destination they want to go. So now when come to the museum, it is more interactive. The audience no longer just walking around, keeping themselves quiet, but now they are evolving. But now they are engaging into all this activity. And of course, we can see a lot of this kind of presentation is particularly work for the science museum, as the nature of the museum itself is already, very interactive. So to have a conversation with the robot, to play around, with the given safe electricity, to learn about science and physics has become a very interesting phenomenon. The ASEAN Culture Center in Bangkok is also, full of multimedia projection along with the performances that you can see on the screen is a performance, I think, is from Bali, right? And then along with the traditional object and, the interactive projection, the audience can touch, the audience can move, the audience can evolve. So for example, this is a very very interesting storytelling when the audience is standing in front of the screen and select the nation from ASEAN. For example, this one is the Vietnamese traditional costume, and the audience will see him or herself transforming, in that traditional costume, and this screen will later on being able to be saved on the visitor phone, and they can continue to share this story with the others. This is another museum that you could see. The object only come in the plain form of a standing figure, and this is the place for people to learn about different types of treatment for different type of illness. So when the audience is touching on the screen, we can learn about how the blood or how blood circulation or how things happening in our anatomy and body and so on. But apart from the very digital approach, the traditional approach doesn't mean it's not relevant anymore. But there are some area or there are some aspect of the museum that are still requesting the audience to pay a full respect and understand about the context. But in some part of it, that we can see interactive and participations are coming, along together. This is currently the biggest science museum in Southeast Asia, known as the King Rama IX Museum. And unfortunately, the image that I have is not like the one that movable. Actually, this dinosaur, they are keep on moving. Like they are keep on moving to have the interactions with the visitor. So the interactive museum or the participatory museum could be something that very, tradition in its way. It doesn't mean that you have to involve very high technology only based on the touch screen and, digital approach. It could be a traditional approach that apart from being very high tech, it can also be very high touch. So you can see, the school tour are bringing their students, to use the tools provided for them to learn, from this planned experience. So as I mentioned, not necessarily, it has to go very technologically based only on the touch screen, but, it can be very high touch. So it all depends on the creativity, how, we want the story to be told. So the new generation museum, I can see this is happening in our region, and many museum authority or many different agencies of different nations are now putting the more attentions into the participatory museum as well as the interactive museum. And hopefully, with the case study that I have shown about Thailand, could let you have some understanding about the current museum development in Thailand, because after all, the story is still about the history, about the culture, about the identity of Thailand, but now the approach has been very different. So the story has been written and the communication is there, but the approach need to be different, to make it relevant to the young generation as well as the audience, who are the key stakeholders of the museum. So once again, I want to thank you, the University of Ahmad Dahlan, for giving me this opportunity. Please keep in touch. Khop kun kap.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. ShawHong Sir, for the materials. That was really interesting. Please give a round of applause for Dr. ShawHong Sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Khop Kun Kap, Doctor. Hopefully that in the future we can see each other face to face, not through Zoom, but who knows that you can visit Indonesia, you can visit Jogja, and you can visit our university, hopefully in the future.
Sure. My pleasure.
Right, yeah, there will be a discussion, Doctor, later after we will have one more speaker, yeah, for the discussion. And then please stay here for the next discussion, Dr. ShawHong said. Well, for ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to remind everyone here and also streaming on YouTube or Zoom to prepare a question or discussion so that after all of the keynote speakers deliver the materials, there will be interesting discussion between the audience and also the keynote speakers. Well, let's proceed to our next discussion. From Southeast Asia, now we are going to fly to Africa, especially in South Africa. The fourth keynote speaker is Professor Jedala Mulia Naidoo, or usually called as Kevin. I would like to greet first Professor Naidoo. Good morning, Professor. Indonesian time.
Good morning. It's we are 5 hours behind you.
Yeah. What time is it there?
It's about 5:25.
Wow, okay, great. Thank you so much for making your time to visit this university and to make your time to make your time for our event today to share with us. Are you ready to share the information, sir?
Yes, I am. I was told that you guys are going to run the slides while I speak.
Yeah, sure. Before delivering the materials, I would like to read a little bit of your CV, sir. So his full name is Mulia Naidoo, or usually called as Kevin. So everyone here can call Professor Kevin, probably. Yeah, and then his language is English, and then he is interested in traveling, reading, designing websites, and studying the Bible. In education, he obtained the senior certificate from the Southland Secondary School in 1989, BA Honors in Communication Science in 2003 from the University of Zululand. In 2007, MA in Communication Science from the same University of Zululand. And then Doctor of Philosophy in Communication Science in 2010, also from the University of Zululand. Then in 2017, he got the postgraduate diploma in education from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. For the professional development, he had several, for example, in 2014, NUFFIC Strengthening Doctoral Supervision course at Rhodes University. In 2018, the University of Zululand Leadership Program. And then 2021 as the Senior Management Development Program from the University of Stellenbosch. For the professional association, here we have several. For example, the executive member of the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa, or PRISA, Zululand Region 2012 until 2016. For the academic career summary from 2018 until now, he is the head of the department in the University of Zululand. A lot of experience regarding to the academic, funding, services, and award. I would like to read the experience in workshops and seminars attended. For example, the assessors and moderators training in the Shettle Road University, as well as portfolio development workshop at the VLM Trondux. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Naidoo would like to deliver the materials entitled The Role of Media Influencing the World Peace. So Doctor, you have 30 minutes to deliver your materials and the time is yours.
Well, thank you, sir. Greetings from South Africa, a nation that reflects the rainbow, made up of various diasporas and is the melting pot of cultural fusion, a country that is trying to arise to cultural diversity in the African continent. I am humbled to be given this opportunity, and I regard myself as the least qualified among the august audience and the speakers that were before me and that will be coming after me. And once again, I would like to also take the opportunity to thank the conference committee for giving me this opportunity. And I do believe that whatever is going to be said in this, already has been said, has made a contribution towards the understanding and expanding the mindsets of both academics as well as students. So today I would like to just share a few perspectives concerning the theme of this conference and focusing on literature in the form of public communication and which should promote world peace. And I hope my slides are being shown, and if it is, it's great, and nevertheless, I will continue. When we look at the term world peace, we often hear this being spoken by world leaders in somewhat it is received with skepticism as well as seen as lip service. You see, media has various forms seeking to portray the story of peace, and this is often laced with a lot of biased narratives and is mooted that one group of people are evil, regarded as the villains, and not good people, while the other side is portrayed as the good guys and the heroes. When we look at the movies, we find that in the various age groups, it's visible and laced with such ideas, pushing narratives that wants to capture the young minds of our children, let alone the adults themselves. And we find that this is some form of an entertainment. And we often see parents taking their children and giving them the opportunity to be sitting in front of this flat screens and then creating digital parenting and giving them or should I say, digital media has become a digital pacifier for the children. But in the meantime, as the media constantly place onto the screens the various agendas, we find that children are already being taken to a certain perspective, and in the subconscious, they're already being groomed so that when they grow up, they will be obviously fit for purpose in terms of the narratives that is going to be portrayed in the coming years. We find that the moral fiber and the culture that is being eroded bit by bit, and we find the sole purpose of gender pushing, redefining and tactfully instilling a form of indoctrination. This gradually changes one's perspective from a global view to be seduced to abandon one's norms and culture and embrace a generic one. We find that, by doing so, people want to feel or want to portray themselves to be politically correct. Words have power. And this conference is set to engage critical and robust discussions about the various aspects of the visual, the written, and the spoken words which shapes, or should I say, attempts to shape world peace. Take, for example, of recent, from the European Union's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, stated Europe is a garden, while the rest of the world is a world which is a jungle. Newton 2022 affirms that this is a neo-colonial rant. And open quote, he says, "A nice small garden surrounded by high walls to prevent the jungle from coming into is not going to be a solution, because the jungle has a strong growth capacity and the wall will never be high enough to protect the garden. Gardeners have to go to the jungle. Europeans have to be much more engaging to the rest of the world," end close quote. When we look at such statements, we find that this is narratives that does not augur well in terms of world peace, but rather separates us and them. And the superiority of one side versus the other side, and trying to be demeaning in the way that they portray the others, it is not going to contribute to world peace, but rather for more resentment, for more pushback. And we find that such, leaders within the world context, making such statements does not help with world peace. We find on the next slide, if you can, sir, messaging tailor-made, written from visual productions and carefully produced to promote propaganda. Media outlets pushing the story of and abandoning journalistic ethics is something that is very, very clear when we look at how media portrays a certain narratives for a certain perspectives. Tucker and ETL 2018 indicates that politicians themselves have a role to play, since they create disinformation and amplify disinformation from other sources, which leads to the depletion of trust. In order for us to have world peace, trust is an important ingredient that will take two kinds of people or two sides of the world to make them, in fact, one world. You see, the promoters of misinformation or disinformation and fake news, terms of such of these have become buzzwords of late, and we find them constantly being visually placed in the media space. And all of this just messed up information and has eroded the journalist profession. We find that, in many countries, we find that trust in news is declining, and people are skeptical about what is being said in the media. It is clear that some media outlets promote a particular narrative, siding with a certain political stance or engaging in propaganda that influences or persuades an audience to further a particular agenda. You see, the object in question and selective presence of facts to encourage certain perceptions are quite clear. The use of wording in captions and media cards with loaded language and emotional stir up a response, the information shared to public is somewhat either tailor-made to suit an agenda and never given the full story. We find this propaganda is constantly becoming a push towards changing the various aspects. When we look at social justice, we find that, information is abundant, and we find that it's so much that yet it's so little. And we find that information is not actually giving the full truths, but rather half-truths. And promoting half-truths is not productive, but rather destructive. The problem arises when information is manipulated and promotes a certain narrative or agenda. According to Janssen and ETL 2011, teaching in the discourse of mass media always ensure media activism and social justice issues. You see, the concept of the freedom of the press is always portrayed as a guarantee. However, this is questionable. When we look at reporting of news in today's times, we find that big business securing prime time, which is often nested with commercial purposes, and the control of messaging is designed to promote a certain narrative that favors a certain position. And we find that many issues around the world promoting propaganda and manipulating the public with censored information. Janssen again, 2011, postulates that the channels of public communication in a democratic society are now dominated by messages produced by commercial media, advertising, public relations, media activism, and critical media studies seek to expand the range of diversity of information, interpreting and interpretive strategies and resources available to the public. We find, when we look at what's taking place and what took place, colonialism, when we look at this term, many nations around the world were victims of such agenda setting in terms of colonialism. It set out to destroy culture, the identity destruction. We find that how it has, caused people to be relabeled with names and forced to learn languages and to be told their history from the perspective of those that came in and colonized the nation. The so-called financial assistance given from the global north to the south is often been a welcome idea from the global south, but in actual speaking, when such funding is taken, we become products, and rather than actually ones who becoming the producers of such. So in the same light and the same token, today with the vast move of technology, we find that we have a new phenomenon that has surfaced, which is digital colonialism. We find that, there is a quick push to ensure that everyone is online. In fact, it has become the oxygen for agenda setting and pushing. It is something that we feel that we should have, but it actually is something that has a very sinister agenda behind it. Within the context of South Africa, we have a major telecommunication giant called MTN, and they constantly post the billboards on the South African highways promising bargain offers, and one of Africa's forerunners in the digital scene. When we look at this, we can find that big tech companies like Amazon, Google, and Facebook, as well as China's Huawei, are pushing the agenda for a digital infrastructure for Africans to provide better access to those people that formerly had no or very little access to the web. Makes you wonder why such a sudden urgency of such need suddenly has come about. Because everybody needs to be connected so that the control of a digital colonial power can thrive. We find that, we are living in a world where digital colonialism now risks becoming as significant and far-reaching as a threat to the global south. This is a classical colonialism, was in a previous dominating many nations for centuries. Sharp increase of inequality, the state rise of corporate surveillance, and sophisticated policing and military technologies are just a few of the consequences of such a new world order. The push for everyone to be online is to ensure that they can control everyone and know exactly where everyone is. Every time we engage social media, and every time we diarize or digitally diarize our activities on a daily basis, is basically we do it innocently to share to our group of people of what we are doing, but in actual speaking, we are giving every bit of information to those elites that are controlling the media scene. One of the things that I've come across in terms of preparing this presentation, media filters, Al Jazeera Media Network 2022 presents the following, and they have about 5 media filters, and some of them are very important for us. Well, should I say all is important, but I want just to highlight a few. The first one that they speak about is ownership. You see, mass media firms are big corporations, and often they are part of a bigger multinational conglomerate globally. And the end game is to make profit. And so the interest of pushing whatever guarantees a profit is high on the agenda. And critical journalism must take second place, because bad news sells, good news or peace portrayed on the media is not so welcoming than trying to instill fear. Fear-mongering is far more profitable. And then the next filter is advertising, and the way they go about advertising to mesmerize consumers and to cause them to buy things and to spend money on things that really are not a need, but rather a want. And so what happens is we become products even when they do advertising of products. And then we have what Al Jazeera also talks about, media elite. You see, the establishment manages the media through this third filter. Journalism cannot check on power because every system encourages complicity. You have to be part of the bigger picture. And governments and corporations and big institutions now know how to play the media game, and they influence the narrative. And so when we look at the various issues that is perplexing and really suffocating peace globally, we find such media elites want to control the narratives, and we do not get the full picture or all the information that will give us an opportunity to make an independent decision, but rather we are kind of seduced to believe what they want us to believe. And if you do decide to go against these establishments, then you will receive flack. That's what Al Jazeera is saying. You will receive flack. And so when we look at that, Comiskey's view on media control, I want to just touch on a few there. For example, they create distraction. You see, distraction is about shifting public attention and giving them meaningless or irrelevant things, keeping the public occupied, and so that they are distracted from the actual occurrence or something that is really of importance that is taking place. So the attention is diverted by distraction. And then when we looked at the next one, making the public complacent. Most trends and fashions don't just come out from nowhere. It is customized, it is tailor-made, and they are always promoting a certain agenda. They do not create homogeneous tastes and interest of opinions, but rather we find media constantly promotes certain fashions and trends. Most of them have to do with the unnecessary, even ridiculous lifestyles they promote, and pushing their agenda or their culture and wanting the entire globe to succumb to a one kind of a culture. And we find that when our younger generation who is captivated by such media outlets, we find that the very fiber of our culture and our society is becoming scarce, and it's becoming constantly drained from what it once was and what it is going to be. And soon enough we find that uprisings and all sorts of opposition is surfacing, and we wonder what happened. And actually what happened was we allowed certain agendas to be pushed into our minds. So we come to this various fashions and trends which may not be necessarily bad, but needs to be seen with both eyes open, with your ears open, and understand what it is really doing to the cultural settings of your indigenous nation. And then we look at the gradual strategy. Comiskey says that the goal is to get the public to allow things that they wouldn't normally accept. How? by introducing them very gradually so that people won't even notice. And we can look at this as from a perspective of normalcy. You know, you constantly push something very gently. And as it continues to gain momentum, we find that it becomes more acceptable. One way to get this to be reinforced is to captivate our young children. Using media, and as I alluded earlier, that parents have made the digital media as a digital pacifier. By letting our children to watch certain cartoons and certain programs, which we don't even take the time to audit to see whether the narratives, what kind of storylines are being presented to our children, gradually captivates the subconscious of our children's minds and pushes this kind of gradual strategy, which then one day when they grow up, they accept what we would not have accepted. And then we find our culture is broken into pieces that seldom can be mended. So these are some of the things that, that are taking place in terms of media. And then I would like to now share on the concept of peace journalism, considering that the theme of this conference is highlighting peace, world peace. Dr. John Gluttentong, a German who specialized in peace journalism, explains the concept of peace being simply the lack of conflict or violence. In this contrast, he speaks or says that negative peace is simply the absence of conflict, whereas positive peace consists of conditions where justice, equity, harmony, and so on can flourish. And I would like to just name a few elements that he punctuates that can promote peace journalism, because today we find that more storylines and more of the media is promoting the negative and the evil and all the bad things that we see, even when we look at the current circumstances that are taking place between Russia and Ukraine. And not to forget the other wars that have been somewhat cloaked about this Ukraine and Russian war, but there's so many other wars and so many other people suffering in different parts of the world that is not even being highlighted on media. The center stage today after COVID has become the Ukraine and the Russian war, another deflector. And yet when we look at what is projected as, peace journalism elements, the following is: the news has to be proactive, examining the causes of conflict and leading discussions about solutions rather than constantly pushing more weapons, more money, more destruction, and more killing and suffering of people. He goes on to say that we should also look at uniting parties with the stories and rather dividing them. And we should not, oversimplify and make it seem like us versus them, good guy versus bad guy. That kind of reporting does not augur well for world peace, but rather pushes the wedge and divides nations between each other. The third aspect he talks about, he says that peace reporters should reject official propaganda and instead seek facts from all sources. Never push one side agenda or one side narrative, but make sure that reporting in journalism is well balanced and provides all perspectives from all parties. The fourth one that I would like to share from the many that he gives is that peace journalism is balanced. It's covering the issues, the suffering, the peace proposals from all sides of the conflict. And the fifth one, he mentions that peace journalism gives voice to the voiceless. Instead of just reporting about the elites and those that are in power, we should be able to tactfully and forcefully give voice to the voiceless. Journalism needs to be ethically bound. It is important for us to ensure, in order for us to have a lasting peace or world peace, then we need to be ethical in the way we report. We need to stand out. And looking at what has transpired over the years with all the misinformation and the fake news that has been propagated so frequently on the media channels, we find a lot of mainstream media has taken flack from the general public, and resulting in other new startups, new media outlets emerging, and all wanting to be independent and provide factual information so that the general public can be informed correctly. And in doing so, they get flack, that they are getting suspended from the various app stores, and we find that they are put into some form of media jail so that they can be silenced. And we need to become more forceful. In order for the profession of journalism to be really revered, we need to be ethical in the way we report. And so, you know, I come to this last part of my presentation. And in conclusion to it, I would like to say, you know, it's so important for us to understand that the written, the spoken, and the visual must promote peace. If we can do that, then we will definitely make a meaningful contribution and world peace may be attainable. Thank you very much, and I yield back to our chairperson. Thank you, sir. I'm concluded.
Check. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Naidoo, for a great presentation. Yeah. Okay, so we have finished all of the 4 keynote speakers with all amazing presentations and materials which are really amazing. And it's a time for everyone, for the participants to join, to participate by joining the discussion. We will have around 15 minutes for the discussion. Therefore, I would like to invite all of the participants to ask questions. Probably for the first cycle, I would like to invite three participants to ask questions. I would like to prioritize those who join this event offline. So, from the participants here in this room, do you have any questions? Please raise your hand, mention your name and your institution, then to whom the questions is addressed to, then the question. Come on, is there any question? Yeah, please, Ibu. The committee, please, is there any microphone?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ani Windarti. I'm from Faculty of Literature, Culture, and Communication. This question is addressed to, I think, the speaker from Thailand. I'm very glad that Thailand has already got sophisticated museums. That's great, that's amazing. And my question is, do you think that this has encouraged more people to visit museum? And my second question is, how could museums promote peace? Because the topic of this conference is about peace. So could you relate museum and promoting peace? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ibu Ani. The question is for Dr. ShawHong Sir and will be answered directly. The questions are, number one, do you think that the program about museum encourage more people to visit the museum? And the second one is that how could museum promote the world peace? Please, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Ani. It's a very interesting question. And first of all, yes, of course, there are still different types of museum in Thailand. And, the one that I selected, which I named it as the New Generation Museum, are the one that, as the product under the authority of creative industry development. So again, with the nature of the exhibition itself, definitely it will be more attractive and young, according to the latest statistic that I gained from the Office of the Knowledge Management. Right after the pandemic, with the nation is reopening now, the museum visitor, particularly for the Generation Z, is actually increasing a lot. Né? So with this approach, yes, definitely they are attracting more new generations to the museum. And how museum can promote to world peace? My understanding will be museum is the place that we could definitely when we think about the diplomacy, or when we think about the level of international exchange, we can think of it from the perspective of the hard power or the soft power or the smart power. When we think about hard power, then we relate it to the economic development, the political position of a nation. And I always think that culture have a very significant role to play, especially for the soft power or the smart power presentation of the nations. For example, food itself. So there are also many food museums in Asia. Okay, there are many food museums. There are also many food that people are talking about food as an intangible culture heritage that we can learn about the place. And I do see museum, as a venue that when people walk in, they are able to, engage or learn about the history, culture, as well as the development of, of a civilization, of a nations. So that moment when we are engaging and look at the art, or when we look at the cultural object, the level of appreciation and understanding do able, to provide a very good channel of learning across a culture. So I think that the cross-cultural experience definitely is one of the aspects that the museum is able to provide and showcase through its exhibition. So I mean that, if I visit a place, either it's a city or a town, every time when I go to the museum, I really, will develop a very pleasant experience in understanding about the people and so on. And of course, with this, I believe it could develop a very good, feeling toward the place and the people. And consequently, this is definitely contribute, to the harmony and the understanding of each other. Hopefully, I have answered your questions. Thank you. Much.
Dr. ShawHong sir, and hopefully it answers Bu Ani's questions. Thank you so much for the questions as well, Bu Ani. Next, I still open the opportunity for the offline audience here, or the participants, to discuss or to deliver questions to our keynote speakers. Anyone? Yeah, any questions? Yeah. I think someone is raising hand. Come on. Probably I would like to remind the topic of the presentation today. The first presentation is from Dr. Kasiyarno, entitled Bringing the Open Society Through Literary Works, Lesson from Nobel Laureate. And then the keynote speaker 2, entitled Rethinking About Science Communication in a Global Society, Discourses in a Graduate School Classroom. Then the keynote speaker 3, the presentation is entitled Rethinking Museum Storytelling, Opportunities and Challenges. And then the last one from Professor Naidoo, the presentation is entitled The Role of Media Influencing the World Peace. So come on, ladies and gentlemen, all of the audience, do you have any questions? Okay, going once, Going twice. Going 3 times. Right. To make the time more effective, I would like to open the questions from either Zoom or YouTube. We've got several questions here, especially on Zoom. There are several questions from Mr. Nizam. The first question is addressed to Dr. Kasiyarno. The first question is that I agree that literary work have so much influence to the society, which to some extent has driven significant changes to the social life. But what do you think of some literary works which are banned by the rule or regime under the considerations of maintaining peace? What do you think of some literary works which are banned by the ruler or the regime under the considerations of maintaining peace?
Thank you for the question, Pak Niam. Well, of course, as Kuna said that a novelist should be what give an inspiration of good attitude, good action, and should resist to the what's called arbitrary power and oppression happen in the society. So if there is a literary work that is considered bad and promotes something unexpected in our life, then we should reject it and leave it. Don't try to read this one because it will influence our mind and attitudes. So I don't agree if there is someone or people who are interested in the bad literary work. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the answer, Dr. Kasiyarno. And then the second question, still from Pak Nizam, from Mr. Nizam, and the question is addressed to Dr. Lachica from Capiz State University. The question is that in our case, when general election is approaching, many surveys are carried out with the intention of shaping and elevating electability of a given candidate, but very often the results of the surveys are contradictory to each other or fabricated. This has resulted in a serious doubt over the society as whether these surveys are academically conducted while they are administered by the academicians. It ruined the academic dignity. So what do you think of this problem? Is it common practice in political communication? So Dr. Lachica, the time is yours to answer the questions from Mr. Nizam.
Thank you very much for that question. I believe that it's more leaning on public relations, more leaning into propaganda, as results of surveys are being used to make a candidate, a specific candidate trend, to become trending, a trending topic. And it really, apparently, it would result into shaping the opinion of the public towards a specific favored candidate. The problem sometimes when it is being conducted by academicians, or if it's a commissioned survey, maybe privately commissioned or independently commissioned surveys, sometimes I agree with your contention that it could be the results could be contradictory to the outcomes of the elections, may it be in the national level or in the local level. For example, it could be contradictory, or sometimes there are doubts it's being fabricated, because when researchers, academicians would conduct surveys on a purposive way. So it's more of a purposive sampling. They would use it on purposive sampling. By that we mean that they will be choosing or selecting samples from a specific population. And the samples would be identified in areas or locations or across demographics of a country or of a locality that is favoring a specific candidate. And they would not go into or not select or not go into places wherein majority of the voters probably would favor the other candidates. So there could be irregularities when it comes to results of surveys if we put that into a particular context. If we put it into the context of those who are conducting researches, say the academicians, it's really a gamble on their part if they are doing irregularities when it comes to doing commissioned surveys. Okay, so like here in the Philippines, there are really cases wherein the surveys are really supporting the results or the outcomes because it shapes the public opinion. But there are, especially in the national elections, that is really happening in national elections. But in some isolated cases, in local elections, there is an overturn of results. As mentioned, that the results are contradictory. It's the election favors the underdog, but the survey is overwhelmingly favoring the superior candidate when it comes to machineries or to money or to support and other resources. So it is a problem when it comes to political communication because there is a blurring really of the discipline between how communication is being used as a discipline, how it's being used merely as a propaganda and not unfortunately used for evidence-based researches, not really for supported with proofs or evidences. Sometimes it could be manipulated. And that's a challenge to practitioners of communication, may it be in political communication, public communication, science communication, development journalism, among others. I don't know if I have answered comprehensively the question.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for the answer, Dr. Lachica, for explaining the question from Mr. Nizam. Well, before going back into the question from Zoom, I'm going to give it back again to the audience here. Do you have any question to our speakers? Come on, ladies and gentlemen, the students especially, the agent of change. Do you have any questions? Come on. Agent of change usually has a lot of critical thinking, right? So come on, if you have anything to ask regarding to the topic, especially related to your department, then it's really open for you guys all to ask questions. Anyone? I think someone is going to raise hand. If you have problems to construct the question in English, kalau ada masalah dalam mengkonstruksi pertanyaan dalam bahasa Inggris, silahkan tanyakan dengan bahasa Indonesia. Saya akan dengan senang hati nanti menjadi interpreter bagi Anda. Yuk, silahkan. Boleh dengan bahasa Indonesia. Silahkan, Mas, Mbak. Ya, ini nanti kan ada Bapak Ibu dosen, kalau Anda bertanya nanti nilainya ditambah. Bukan begitu Pak Neri, Bu Intan, Pak Kasiyarno? Ayo silakan. Ada pertanyaan, Mbak, Mas? Belum ada, baik. Saya kembali lagi ke Zoom untuk pertanyaannya, baik. Pertanyaan masih dari Pak Nizam, and this time the question is still from Mr. Nizam, and then the question is addressed for Dr. ShawHong Sir again, and the question is that it's definitely amazing that Thailand museum exists like that, and they're well ahead, of course, a breakthrough in educational communication. However, could you please tell us how the challenges of setting up such museums? Thank you. Dr. ShawHong Sir, the time is yours to answer.
Hello. Oh, this is a very challenging question as well. Okay, I mean that, when we, like as I mentioned, there are still, in total at the moment in Thailand, there are more than 1,570 museums, okay? So in this 1,570 museums in Bangkok, there are around 234. So there are museums exist in different forms under different kind of management. So some are under the like fully funded by the government, and some are between the partnership of the private and public organization. For the museum that I have selected, as I mentioned earlier, these are the museums that respond to the development of the creative and cultural economic development. So if we are really look into the setting up or the establishment of the new museum, I mean that the policy level is actually very significant, because definitely need to allocate a very excellent resources in order to sustain or in order to establish this museum. And like, of course, for the interactive museum, first and foremost is the form of interaction. Some of the visitor, after they have experienced this, like the setup or the design for the first time or the second time, they may not, have an interest to go back to the same place again, because all the gadgets somehow have been played or have been learned by them before. So like therefore the budget to allocate to be allocated for the renovation. For example, the Museum Siam was first opened in 2000. It was opened in 2006 and 2012. Nearly after the first 6 years of operation, it has to be fully renovated or with the new exhibition approach again, in order to make the technology employed for the exhibition to be more relevant. And for the latest museum apart, I would say the challenges is on the how to catch up with the changes of the society as well. And from the policymaker perspective will be the budget that allocated in order to sustain all these creative venue. Because when we come to the national strategy or application of national strategy for culture development, there are so many different aspects, and museum is just only one of them. So budget is something that always very challenging. And then the second part of it is the maintenance and whether the technology is still relevant after 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
So much for the answer Dr. ShawHong said. Hopefully that it answers the question from Mr. Nizam. The last chance, ladies and gentlemen, before we close the keynote discussion here with the keynote speakers. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, no? Are you sure? Okay, all right, thank you so much. Well, actually, we would like to continue the discussion, but however, the time is up and it's almost, the praying time is almost duhur. Therefore, unfortunately, that we have to close our discussion today. The point is that the speakers, the materialists focuses on how the current issues right now regarding to the literature, culture, and also communication science can relate or can solve the problems related to world peace. And hopefully that all of the materials delivered by the presenters would give a lot of benefit for all of us as listeners, also as a participants. And I would like to, representing the committee, say thank you for all of the keynote speakers today. The first one is Dr. Kasiyarno, Magister Humaniora from Universitas Ahmad Dahlan. The second keynote speaker, Dr. Luis Placido Francisco Lachica from Capiz State University of the Philippines. The keynote speaker 3, Dr. ShawHong from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. And the last one, Professor Naidoo or Kevin from the University of Zululand, South Africa. hopefully that next time in the future we could have another opportunity to discuss, not only by Zoom, but by seeing each other face to face at the same place. It could be all of the keynote speakers go to Indonesia, or we could visit all of the speakers' country in the Philippines, in Thailand, or in South Africa. Please give a round of applause for our 4 keynote speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Well, so thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the end of our agenda for today. But don't go anywhere, because after this there will be several events. Will be read by the MC. My name is Patria Handung Jaya as the moderator. And see you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And the time is back to our MC, Miss Alida.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Handung, for bringing us to a very insightful session today. For now, I'd like to read some announcements for the participants. First, there will be a lunch break right after this time until 1 p.m. And around this time, you can have a prayer on the second floor of this building. For the students, you can get the lunch box at the exit door, and there is committee there. You can get the lunch box there. And then for our guests and the participants or the presenters, there is a lunch venue right on your left side. So please then enter this way. Okay. Then we also remind the presenters that there will be parallel session 125 starting from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. It will be held on the 4th floor of the main building, which is located in the left side of this building. And then you can check the number of the room in the rundown that we have shared to you. For the presenters, don't forget to bring the snack box before joining the parallel session right at the table in front of this room. Have a great break and thank you.